awesome to have him here. So this poem is called Left Opened. I once watched a kitten leave his home for the first time, his transition to being allowed outdoors, and he walked carefully, one step and then back, a glance in our direction. "Are you sure?" he asked us. "Yes," we answered. Our smiles were very encouraging. But after he looked away and returned to his measuring of the distance between the landing and the first step down, I turned to my roommate and smirked. "There's nowhere I'd rather be than here watching this with you," I told her. I said that because this kitten was hilarious. He was skittish in a stubborn way, proud that he was afraid of everything that even slightly impeded the path that he took daily through the kitchen and back. His routine then, not ever again, for when all the hesitation was done, and he jumped from that first step onto the driveway and disappeared from our view for what ended up being the whole day, I realized that what comes after escape isn't very fun to watch. When I was 8, I imagined that I lived inside of a box. Transparent. Maybe nobody knew it was there, but I did. I could see it, the shimmering of the glass, and I could feel it. The warm reverberation from the condensation splattering from my breath. Don't make a mess. So I held it. Until one day I realized that when people thought about me as they did occasionally, the word that came most easily to them was shy. I'm shy. I repeated their words back to myself and decided I agreed with them. Why? Because this word gave me an I, the girl from the far outside, but this last line I pulled from a poem that I wrote when I turned 13. I called this poem I'm in there. And inside of it, this rebellious memory, I wrote in my words, yes, these at least were mine out. And I rhymed them. Realized that I had a pretty good vocabulary and that shy wasn't a word that I ever really wanted to describe me, but now, as if I were a pen stroke and this word globbed white out, it defined me. So I wrote, as often as possible, I would like to be referred to instead as the girl with no name. This wasn't a sad poem. No, these were fighting words. And a third of the way from the bottom, I offered myself this suggestion. Maybe I've hidden from myself all these years, afraid. Anxiety is how they diagnosed me less than a year later, depression, and the 14 years following that one day have been tough, filled with beliefs mostly starting with not enough, so I said to myself, okay, we're going to change, and I went to battle with my brain, ran 2 half marathons, and completed all 12 weeks of the artist's way. I did all this to prove to you that I'm not afraid. I've turned that box into a skyrise, and I've been mounting it with an ice pick and a heavy-duty felt tip marker. I identified the sky as my destination, and I climbed high, fell a few times, but always tried again. I believed a lot of things, but never that escape was something I wouldn't be able to achieve. Maybe not with ease, but eventually. This is where I start to run into problems, because the almost illogical warmth of luminescent glass, mirrors, and especially screens is something that I think I love. You could call it the sun, and that felt tip marker my very own pair of unalterable wings, carrying me up as I grow up and become something better than shy. I remember you that night, he told me. It had been a year since the first, and before that moment, the only time we met, and when I saw him again, I smiled, because he was attractive, but also because I recalled how little I'd said before. So when he said this to me, I saw an opportunity. Really? What do you remember? Tell me, because I wanted to use this moment to consensually disappear into his memory. Yes, I remember you that night, he said to me. I remember that you were like a wall. When I got home that night, I scrawled his words into my journal. I wrote, I'm a wall, and I pictured my body as glass filling a window, fragile but beautiful, then crossed that out. No, I'm behind the wall. The poem that I wrote when I turned 13 ended with freedom and an exclamation mark. The rational part of my brain, so they say, hadn't been developed yet, so I forgot to add a door. But something I didn't mention before is that when he said that the thing he remembered most about me, and I might be adding a little bit of a flourish to this, it's the anxiety, was that I was a wall. I was very far from offended. Actually, I liked it. Or, I'm sorry, when he said that I was like a wall, a simile, not a metaphor, I am not like that cat who left so easily. It's just not very interesting, and there's no story more inspiring to me than the one about the girl who was trapped and broke free. This box was a beginning I found once. It was the beginning for a story where that girl would be me. Thank you very much.